Welcome to Something to Wrestle With.
Something to wrestle with.
Bruce Prichard. Well, you know. That's not.
Catch me up about Cornette in traffic. I feel like Cornette sitting in traffic or Cornette riding with Vince McMahon, but you've shared your fair share of stories of riding with Vince. Did Cornette ever have to ride with Vince, and what would that be like?
Oh Lord. What happened? We started, I think, in Cleveland, or we took a flight to Cleveland, catching a flight, and in the middle of the flight, we're all sitting in first class. I'm sitting next to Vince. Cornette and Jim Ross were there. Lisa Wolf was on the flight. I forget whoever the hell else was on the flight. But I'm sitting on the window. Vince is in the aisle. And we hit weather. Something happens that we are not allowed to land where we were going. The weather's too bad. We can't get there. So they circle. They decide to reroute us to Albany. And they're circling Albany. Well, Vince has decided to take a power nap. So he's out. He doesn't know any of this shit's going on. He wakes up and he's hungry. Now, because the flight was originally only scheduled to be like an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever it was, all they had was a little snack which consisted of a muffin and a banana. That was the snack food in first class. So Vince wakes up, he hits the flight attendant call button, and flight attendant comes back and says, "You have any food?" And she just comes and hands him this basket of a banana and a muffin. Like, "This is it?" "Well, yes, sir." And he looks at his watch. "Goddamn, what's going on?" And he rings the flight attendant, and she just blows right by. She doesn't stop. So he's looking around, rings the flight attendant button again. She comes back, "Yes, sir." This is what are we doing here? So we were supposed to land like 30, 45 minutes ago. What's going on? And she just walks away, doesn't answer. And I'm sitting right next to him. I witnessed the whole damn thing. And he's looking at me going, "What the hell's going on?" I said, "I don't know. They said they had something going on in the weather and that we were circling Albany." "Why the fuck are we circling Albany?" "I don't know." So he rings the flight attendant button again. And he says, "What's going on?" She just ignores us, doesn't answer. So he gets up and goes up and asks to speak to the captain. "I'd like to know what the hell's going on." Well, man, it fucking turns into this whole big ordeal. The captain comes back. "Yes, sir." He says, "Yeah, could you tell me what's going on here?" I've tried to ask this young lady a couple of times, and she has no answer for me. And the guy explains, "Hey, we got weather. We're circling right now. When we get clearance to land, we're going to land in Albany, but we can't go. I forget what our destination was. So when we'll land, it'll be good." And that's it. I mean, that was the extent of the communication. Well, man, they call the fucking feds on us, on an unruly passenger. Now, if it had been United, they'd beaten the fuck out of him and drug him off the plane and probably thrown him off the fucking flight. But then again, it was different time, different place. But when we land, man, the federal marshals are all standing there, and Vince gets off and gets on his phone, and we're trying to find a car company so that we can drive to the next place. And the feds are all surrounding him, and they question us about all this bullshit about, "Sir, you threatened a flight attendant, you threatened the captain." And I'm listening to this going, man, he didn't threaten anybody. He asked a question. Why are we circling? Why haven't we landed yet? That's it. He was asleep when the announcement was made. And they fucking make a report, write all this bullshit up. So now we're late getting where we got to go. Weather's bad, and Vince is going to drive. And it's Vince, me, Cornette, and Jim Ross. And Vince is in a hurry. And as I told the story about him going about 140 miles an hour in the pouring rain, that's exactly what he's doing here. And I remember Jim Ross made the comment afterwards, that last time I'm riding with you, old man, goddamn, I got kids and I'd like to see them. I'd like to see them again. I can't travel like this. And Cornette said, goddamn motherfucker, I'll never fucking travel with you again. I'll fucking die before I fucking get in a car with you behind the wheel ever again. And that was the last time that Cornette ever fucking rode with Vince driving. He was absolutely scared. If he thought that flying in a goddamn death tube was bad, being in a car with Vince McMahon behind the wheel in weather late somewhere is even worse.
Well, Jim was, he's a pretty brave driver himself, though. Didn't you tell me there were a few times where you guys would have your plane delayed because of weather and Jim would beat you to the town driving? That
Bastard one time, as he stated, he goes, goddamn, I had to walk the fucking gangplank onto the goddamn death tube, motherfucker. He gets on the plane, and it's one of those small jets with one seat on one side, on the left side, and two on the other.
Yeah.
And he walks on. We're already on the plane. And Corny walks on, looks, goes back, tries to sit down, but can't sit down. And he's cussing the whole way and goes, God damn, I'm not going to die on this fucking death tube. I'm out of here. And bolts, gets off the plane, and we're all sitting on the plane waiting for the son of a bitch to come back. He don't come back. And it's another situation where the weather was bad and so on and so forth. And we got delayed. We get off. And again, Jimmy didn't have a cell phone. We didn't have cell phones then. Jimmy's got a cell phone now, and you still can't reach on his cell phone. He's the only guy I know that actually answers his phone at home. But Cornette gets off the plane, rents a car, and drove 200 and some odd miles to the town and beat us there. He gets in at 1 o'clock in the morning. We don't get in until 4:30 in the morning.
Well,
and he gets there. He goes in and checks in. Bruce Prichard, because Mr. Prichard hadn't checked in yet. Well, how about Jim Ross? Mr. Ross hasn't checked in yet. Vince McMahon, they're not here yet, sir. Beat us by 3.5 hours, and that motherfucker drove 200 miles. And we flew.